Welcome to part 4 of our live training session here with our Supercharged Honda S2000. In this tutorial, we're going to be focusing our efforts on how we can calibrate our full throttle operation. So we're going to be looking at how to go in and tune fuel and spark timing in our low cam operation, so without VTEC enabled. Now we're going to be learning how we can integrate our knock control using the OEM knock sensor to guide us in making our spark tuning changes, also acting as a long-term fail-safe protection in case we get bad gas or we get into a condition where we might start to knock. The ECU is able to detune each cylinder that is knocking. We have a lot to cover and take a look at in this tutorial. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our Supercharged Honda S2000. Now, in the last tutorial, we looked at doing the part throttle calibration process. This tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at full throttle tuning, specifically on the low cam of operation. The low cam, or non-VTEC operation, is where we spend the majority of time of our driving. We want to make sure this is dialed in as best as possible. So we're going to be looking at how to dial in our fuel and our spark in this tutorial for wide open throttle force induction situations. Now, if you're naturally aspirated, the process that I'm going to be covering here in terms of fuel and spark tuning can still be applied into a naturally aspirated engine, although in this case we're force induction. So the stakes are a little bit higher and we need to make sure that we're on point with everything that we're doing because the engine can be damaged very easily being high compression and being force induction. So the first thing I want to talk about is calibrating and tuning our main fuel table. The main fuel table we have here in our fuel table 1, I'm in my VTEC specific parameter window. We're going to find we have a table 1, table 2. Table 1 represents low cam operation. Table 2 represents VTEC or high cam operation. So we're just focused on our calibration of our fuel table 1, specifically in this case, from 5 and higher in our MGP. Our table's going here from 5 to 120 MGP. Now MGP is the ratio between mat pressure and barrel pressure. It allows us to have the barrel pressure be included in our fuel calculations so that if we're changing elevation, it'll compensate our fuel delivery to our engine and keep things consistent. Now in this case, this represents what we need to calibrate. Now we've went in and we've dialed in everything here from 0 to negative 100 in our MGP. That was our vacuum area of operation in our part throttle cruise video. We populated some multiplier out into our positive manifold pressure here, meaning we found at this 0 MGP row that we had to go in and add about 10, maybe 11% fuel in this row. I populated that forward into the 5 and higher in my MGP and the higher load getting into boost. I populated that multiplier out because I knew we would need more fuel. So we should have a good starting point here. We're most likely going to have to change some things and update some things, but this is going to be what we concentrate on in calibrating in terms of our fuel. Now, I do want to point out, just as we found in the last video, we were able to use our closed loop fuel correction, closed loop lambda correction, to guide us in making our changes into our part throttle area. We're going to carry that same concept forward here into our wide open throttle. We're going to be able to watch what the correction is doing, if it's adding or taking away fuel, and then go into our main VE table here, model table mode, and start to update and change some things. Whether you're in traditional or model mode, the calibration process is still going to be the same. We can watch what the closed loop correction is showing it's making its adjustments by, and then update our table based on those adjustments, and then we can keep making pulls through there and fine-tuning it from that point. We'll find that within probably 2-3 pulls, we can get everything dialed in terms of our fuel delivery 100%. Now the flip side to this is going to be the fuel. We're going to have our spark timing. We need to make sure that's going to be dialed in properly. Too much spark timing can lead to a blown engine. We want to make sure we have an appropriate amount of spark timing so we're making safe power, but without getting into knock or pre-ignition conditions. That is going to be what damages the engine. So the fuel, we're going to make sure we sort that out so that we're hitting the desired lambda under full throttle. Spark timing, we're going to sort that out so we have the most amount of cylinder pressure that we can build and doing it in a safe and controlled manner. Let's jump into our spark timing table, because if we jump into here to fuel VTEC spark, we're going to find in this particular window we have table 1, table 2. Table 1 is low cam, table 2 is high cam. Now in this case, we've dialed everything here from 100 mat pressure and below. So 0 to 100, that's our vacuum range. 120 and higher in this range right here, this represents our positive manifold pressure or our boost pressure. Now we have really low spark timing here, and that's fine. We need to have low spark timing so we can dial our fuel in first. Order of operations for any calibration process for any engine, always go after your fuel first, then your spark timing. Once you sort that out, then you can go through all the modifier tables, acceleration enrichment, going in and adding any kind of motorsport features, launch control, anti-lag, whatever those motorsport features are going to be. But we need to make sure at the very basic, most simplistic level of calibrating, fuel is always first, then spark tuning. So we have low spark timing amount here, so we can go in, do our pulls without having to worry about knock or pre-ignition occurring, dial in that fuel table. Once that's dialed in, we can come back in here and start to increase our spark timing and figure out where that sweet spot's going to be in terms of running enough time to make power, but making sure we're keeping the engine safe. Now, the flip side of this, or the other side of having our spark timing being low, is that we need to dial in our knock control first to be able to really get a feel for what the engine is doing. By having low spark timing, not only does it allow us to go into full throttle conditions and not have to worry about damaging the engine, but it also allows us to build the knock profile on the engine with our knock sensor. Let's go and talk about this real quick. So if we jump in here, go back into our windows here, into the knock window, we've set this up based on the OEM knock sensor, 7 kilohertz narrowband frequency, and we've set up our windows here where we want it to work. We've set up our knock threshold table, and we've set up what the cylinder allocation to the ignition trim is going to be in terms of our ignition trim tables. There's 4 of them, 4-cylinder engine. Now, it's our job to go and populate this knock threshold level out here at different RPM ranges. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.